And welcome back to this breaking news edition of Hannity as we continue to monitor the showdown with Syria and as reports continue to circulate that an attack against the Assad regime could happen within days. My question is this: would this just be a therapeutic strike to make the president feel better about himself for drawing this red line in the sand and bungling the crisis from day one? And if a strike is ordered, what happens after the attack is launched? Is that going to open the door for al-Qaeda to fill the power vacuum in Damascus? Now, one thing's for certain, our commander-in-chief better have a plan for the sake of America and our allies. Here with reaction, the president for Act for America, Brigitte Gabriel, Fox News contributor, radio talk show host Leslie Marshall. Leslie, I just read the comments of the president. He said in 2007 that a president wouldn't have the constitutional authority. Let's go to the same year. Joe Biden, listen to what he said.
I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee for 17 years, or its ranking member. I teach separation of powers and constitutional law. This is something I know. So I got together and brought a group of constitutional scholars together to write a piece that I'm going to deliver to the whole United States Senate, pointing out the president has no constitutional authority to take this nation to war against a country of 70 million people unless we're attacked or unless there is proof that we are about to be attacked. And if he does, I would move to impeach him. The House obviously has to do that, but I would lead an effort to impeach him. The reason for my doing that, I don't say it lightly. I don't say it lightly. I say it because they should understand that what they were threatening, what they were saying, what was adding up to be, what looked like to the rest of the world what we're about to do would be the most disastrous thing that could be done at this moment in our history that I can think of.
I'll go back to Obama. He said the president does not have the power under the Constitution to unilaterally authorize a military attack in a situation that does not involve stopping an actual or imminent threat to the nation. Leslie Marshall, how do they get beyond their own words here?
Well, first of all, Vice President Biden was specifically speaking about a war, a declaration of war, which does need congressional approval. We're not talking about a declaration of war here. We're talking about possibly what we did in Syria. We are talking about in Syria what we did in Libya, which is no boots on the ground. And quite frankly, I hate to say that I agree with Ann Coulter and anything, but yes, the commander-in-chief has that power.
That's not a war. That's not an authorization for use of force. What are we going to call that? A tea party?
We're not declaring war.
We're not declaring war. But doesn't mean that conflict isn't existing. Let's not play word games here, Leslie.
But you know what, Sean, when it comes to the Constitution, word games are played, and that's what happens in a court of law.
We are in a post-constitutional America. That's a good point.
In an international court of law, when you have every single ally, including France this time around, supporting stopping the genocide of his own people, the president has the authority because this is not a declaration of war.
Let me go to Brigitte, because I want to keep this conversation sane. If, in fact, do you take the threat of Iran and Syria, how seriously should we take their threat that if we send cruise missiles into Syria, that they're going to fire at Israel? How credible is that threat?
It's a very serious threat. They told us over and over again that they're going to retaliate. And Iran will retaliate because right now Syria is the proxy base of Iran in that part of the world. Iran wants to make sure that the lines to Hezbollah remain open to smuggle the weapons to Hezbollah. So Iran has a best interest to retaliate, and they will retaliate against Israel. They will retaliate against our interest in the Middle East and maybe even anywhere around the world. But here's the problem we have, Sean. We don't even know who used nerve gas against their people. We do not know if the rebel used it. We're not sure that the Assad regime used it. Carla Del Ponte, who is a member of the United Nations International Independent Commission of Inquiry on Syria, came out with a report to Swiss television saying, we think it's the rebels who launched the nerve gas and the biological weapons and not the Assad regime.
It's interesting you say that because the UK Telegraph had a column out today saying that the evidence that Assad used chemical weapons is slim at best. But we have John Kerry saying it with great authority here. Here's the problem. If, in fact, the president goes forward with this military action, which I would say is an act of war by any definition, if he goes ahead and does this, Leslie, if he was, in fact, able to get rid of Assad, do you know who's most likely to take his place? Because I'll tell you if you don't know.
Well, this is something that America has had a problem with since we've been a nation. We strive for freedom and democracy and push for other countries to have the freedom to vote. With Egypt, although we had no military intervention, we had verbal backing, and many would say financial backing through a back door. We knew that it was the devil you know versus the devil you don't. What was the option? To keep Mubarak in power?
Yeah.
In this situation, does this mean al-Qaeda? So what we want is Assad, and so I can be clear, Sean. So our choice is, when we watch this horrific footage of children lying on the ground, writhing in pain from basically what is nerve gas attacking their central nervous system, and we're going to say, okay, because they might attack it, because somebody might attack Israel, or because al-Qaeda might come into power, we're going to turn our head as a leader of the free world?
For 30 months, 100,000 people were killed. Now it's the method of killing people that has now outraged the international community?
I didn't hear, and 30 months ago, where was there any congressional member on the right asking us to go into Syria?
There were plenty of people. At 30 months, wait a minute, 30 months ago,
I want to see those
there
clips.
were pro-American, more secular opposition forces that we could have assisted, and we missed that opportunity. That window is closed. So now the president's saying this is days, not weeks, Brigitte, and they don't want regime change. So I've got to ask, what's the purpose? What are they trying to accomplish here?
Exactly. Why are we going to spend billions of dollars bombing a country we have no businesses being in? We are basically looking at Hezbollah and Iran on one side with Assad, and on the other side we have Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood. And so we're going to war because we feel bad, because of our morality. Why didn't we go to war with Sudan and Congo? 2 million Sudanese were slaughtered. 2 million, not 100,000. So how come we morally did not feel bad about going and defending and protecting the Sudanese, but we want to go to war in Syria? This is complete manipulation by our enemy to drag us into war, and we cannot be stupid and fall into that trap.
This isn't even a war. This is just to say, okay, I checked the box off. I bombed Syria.
Exactly.
My red line promise has been kept. And I got to tell you, if it happens, we're putting our ally in jeopardy, and we're paving the way for al-Qaeda and radical Islamist al-Qaeda-tied groups to take over. That's a really dumb thing to do, Leslie, by any definition.
That's not what we're doing, Sean.
That's exactly what will happen. I was right on the Brotherhood, and I'm right about this. Mark my words.
Well, you may not like the president, but I hope you have confidence in our Pentagon, our Joint Chiefs,
I don't have confidence in his decision-making on this, Leslie. It seems to me that
he's decision all by himself with no military experience. No president does that, left or right, Sean. You know that. No president.
At least getting rid of Saddam Hussein, the world was better off. Getting rid of Assad and getting al-Qaeda-affiliated radicals in its place, I don't see how we're better off. We ought to stay the hell out of it.
Exactly. Exactly. We cannot go to war. We have a petition on our website, actforamerica.org, not to go to war.
All right. Coming up next.